Okay, so good afternoon all. I hope all of you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in last lecture, what we were discussing is what is basically stiffness, a simple definition, what is flexibility, by considering a simple example of the spring element, which I have shown. So we had also generalized the concept by extending the flexibility and stiffness matrix, which is being applied to the spring. Generalized problem, that is of course beam, that we are interested in. We have extended that concept to the beam which is subjected to several loads, and we have seen this example of being subjected to A1, A2, A3, and we have also seen how the flexibility coefficients are being generated by also incorporating along with concept of flexibility, the superposition principle. These two things that we have discussed. Third thing we have discussed is about kinematic indeterminacy, that how joint displacements and rotations which are unknown are of significance in the structural analysis. So I hope I had also shared with you some of the videos where you can revise whatever I have been discussing. I will not repeat too much, but we have learned that how these, how the flexibility coefficients are being generated, that how are you applying the, the load. For example, A1, I have seen the flexibility is generated when you are applying the unit load, not at the same time all the unit load you have to apply it at the same time. One by one you have to apply the unit load. Let's say A1 is equal to 1, and then you get the flexibility coefficients F11, F21, F31. Similarly, when you apply A21 as unit in the next diagram, okay, and in the second diagram you have seen that when A1 is 0, A1 is equal to 1, A2 and A3 are 0. Second diagram related to, we want to generate flexibility coefficients when A2 is equal to unit and A1 and A3 are made 0. And third, the moment which is applied where applied as unit value, where you can generate the flexibility coefficients F13, F23 and F33. Also, we have seen that how to obtain the common displacement at one place, one single place, that we have used the superposition principle to generate this displacement. D1 is equal to F11 times A1 plus F12 times A2 plus F13 times A3 and so on. So what I'm trying to say, if you have any doubt, anything, just let me know. I think we are now switching over to the concept of how stiffness coefficients are being generated. So let us consider the next diagram with the same loading, where beam is having several supports and beams are subjected to several loads. So A1, A2, A3, and you can, our idea is to generate the stiffness equation. What is stiffness equation? It is A is equal to SD. What is A is equal to SD? It relates your number of forces on the left hand side. There are several forces A1, A2, A3, and it also relates the displacements which are occurring because of this external loads D1, D2, D3. So how do we first, we draw the diagram of the deflected shape that is shown in the second figure, where D1 is the displacement. Please mind, again I am drawing your attention. What we want to relate is the corresponding forces and corresponding displacement. So corresponding force is A1, but the corresponding displacement is D1. Okay. And similarly, A2 is the force and corresponding displacement is D2. A3 is the force, moment, and corresponding displacement, rotation is D3. Among these, we have seen, okay, forces are related with the displacement and moments are related with the rotation. But these forces, A1, A2, A3, will generate, A1 alone will generate D1 and D2 and D3, all three. But when we are writing our equations, stiffness equations, we are going to relate the corresponding, vector, that is A1, A2, A3 and D1, D2, D3. That is how we have to write our equations, because it should be suitable in writing the matrix form also. So what we do is now, what is, by going by definition, the stiffness is the force occurred because of the unit displacement. So by going by this definition, now in the next diagram, what I have shown is we have allowed the beam, the D1 is equal to 1, that is unit displacement. All of you can see here, right? D1 is equal to 1. Now when you generate, when you allow that particular joint or location unit displacement, there will be forces generated, okay, at all three locations. Which are three locations? 1, 2, 3, which are the corresponding joint locations where loading is being applied. So A1 causes at this joint, again I will note down the subscript. What is that subscript? Is S11. So what is the meaning of S11? Subscript 1 says where I want to calculate the force, where I am interested in finding the force because of unit displacement occurred at joint 1 or location 1. So I am naming it S11, and because it is a force, you can see here the roller support, which I have artificially introduced roller support, which is not there in the original beam. But please understand why we are doing all this process. This force is not there in the original beam. We are doing the process of formulating the force and the displacement relations between, uh, using the stiffness coefficients. And this will also help, just like you have learned superposition, this will also help us in analyzing the beam using the stiffness method later on. So you will understand the significance of these steps that we are trying to discuss here. That will be applied later on when we are solving the problems. That what's happening here. So this is a part of the process where I have to introduce the artificial support here, because I know there is a force. There is a force generated because of the unit displacement here. Now, second, coefficient that will be generated, that is a force. Stiffness is a force generated because of unit allowed displacement at location 1 will be S21. So I'm calculating the force at second place, and we are allowing displacement at first place. That is the first joint. Here you can see, and here you can see I have calculated the force. Again, I am introducing the artificial support. I had to, because if no support, no force. I mean, if there is no support, how can the there will be internal forces, of course, bending moment shear force, but I have introduced the external support here because that is a force which is which will be created by the unit allowed displacement here. And similarly, there will be a moment generated. So if the moment is generated, I have to introduce a support something like fixed. I have introduced, along with this roller support, I have introduced a support which is fixed, and the S31 is the moment calculated at location 3 because of the unit allowed displacement at 1. This is the procedure. Now, second diagram, you can see what we have done. We are allowing unit displacement at our second location. Okay. And we are calculating the stiffness coefficients generated at all three places where I have applied the load. Please understand, we are calculating corresponding force, we are calculating corresponding force and corresponding displacements. Okay. So what will happen? It will be generated S12 because of unit displacement at 2, as it is calculated at first location, and we have applied unit displacement at second location. So that's why we are calling it S12, and I am again introduce the artificial support here, which is a force, unknown force actually. Why this is being introduced? Because it should be a force, you know. Okay, second, please understand these stiffness coefficients are different than forces, are different than our internal bending moment shear forces. So we will discuss that also later on. If at all we want to consider that, we will solve the problems on flexibility method, and that will help us in understanding the, what to say, how to generate the, how to make use of bending moment quantity as your redundant and so on. So S22 is again the force calculated at 2 and unit displacement allowed at 2. S32 is the moment, unit displacement allowed at 2, and force is calculated at 3. And similarly, the last one, this will be S13. This force is S13. It is being calculated at 1, and unit rotation. Please understand, I told you moment is related with rotation. So you can show the support like release, you know, the inclined. It is different. The symbol which I have shown is the inclined support which will rotate, actually which allow unit rotation here. And because of that, here S13 is produced. Here it will be S, what is the quantity? S23. S23 will be produced here. And here there will be moment produced, which is called S33. So I hope all of you have understood what is going on here. So now, just like we have written flexibility equation, we have written here A1 is equal to S11 times D1. This is about, again, why we have multiplied S11 times D1? Because D1 is your actual displacement, which is actually unknown quantity. Okay, so S1, if unit displacement causes S11, how much force is being caused by the, you know, when actual displacement is allowed, it will be S11 times D1 plus S12 times D2. The actual force will be S12 times D2 here in this second diagram. And actual force in here, the last quantity of the first equation, S1 3 times D3, when you are applying, unit rotation and you are calculating quantity here, times D3, because D3 is applied at the actual quantity. So this is being summed up. Now now we have used the superposition principle, which is our equilibrium equation. If you remember, if I am adding the forces, stiffness is nothing but the forces. So S11, S12, S13, all these are forces. So what I am writing here is force equilibrium equation here. This is nothing but equilibrium equation. Whereas in opposite case, in flexibility method, what we are equating, it is the compatibility equation, because there we are adding the displacements. Here we are adding the forces because of the unit displacements. So this is nothing but the equilibrium equation. But finally it gives you A is equal to SD. Similarly, you can write at second place, you can add up the forces by multiplying the actual displacement. So S21 times D1 plus S22 times D2 plus S23 times D3. So A2 is equal to this. And similarly, last equation, please understand these two are forces, A1, A2 are forces, A3 is the moment. So A3 is equal to S31 times D1 plus S32 times D2 plus S33 times D3. Now let us see one example. So what we have discussed is the physical significance of the flexibility and stiffness coefficient. So just the understanding, we still have not come to problem solving. It is the concept, it is just the conceptual base. So consider slightly a different example of the overhanging beam where left hand support is hinge, this right hand support is roller, and this is being subjected to A1 and A2. A1 is the vertical load and A2 is the moment which is being applied. So in this case, I want to generate stiffness and flexibility coefficient. So very easy to understand according to our discussion. Now, here what is the difference? Same location and the forces are different. So it will not like it will not be very difficult to note the numbering. Numbering will be, I can always call it, okay, the vertical force is related with A1, 1, and moment will be related to 2. So it doesn't have to be always the joint or the support. Your number of location 1 to 3 can be at the same place, but you name it according to your how the forces are applied. So here it is easy to differentiate. If I am applying force A1, which is a force, is the corresponding force, the displacement may be deflection and rotation, and even because of the corresponding moment, corresponding variable, it may be rotation or even it may generate the deflection. So let's follow the same procedure. Just now I explained A1. I am again talking about flexibility coefficient. I am just explaining the example. So this will have a deflection. So that deflection, because I am naming the vertical force as A1, to generate the flexibility coefficient, we apply A1 is equal to 1. So here I have applied A1 is equal to 1. That will produce the flexibility coefficient. So if vertical displacement is produced, I will call it F11. And if the rotation is produced, because why I have chosen rotation as the second quantity, because you can see here A2, and the corresponding variable should always be rotation. So A1 can cause rotation as well as displacement both. A2 will also cause rotation deflection both. But I'm just for the numbering point of view, I'm calling A1 as 1 and A2 as 2 because here it is being applied at the same location. So F11 will be because of A1 is equal to 1 unit. It is the displacement vertical deflection at calculated at first location, that is A1, and because that is a deflection, vertical deflection, and because of the unit of applied load of A1. And similarly, F21 is I have calculated rotation at second place. That is second place, I am naming it rotation. Not because of A2, but because of A1. So F21 is a second location is our rotation. We are placing it as our rotation because of A1. So I'm calling it F21. And similarly, when I'm making A1 as 0 and A2 as 1, it will give me another flexibility coefficient, that is F12. Now what is F12? It is the displacement. One denotes deflection, 2 denotes rotation. So F12, the first subscript of F12 denotes one denotes the vertical deflection and 2 denotes because of unit applied moment over here. And similarly, the rotation F22 says F2 is the rotation because of unit applied rotation, that is showing the second subscript. So don't mix up flexibility and stiffness. And that's why I have shown the diagram here on the top about flexibility, and diagram on the bottom is about stiffness. So second diagram, now how to generate the stiffness coefficients. When you are allowing unit displacement. So D1 is equal to 1 will cause two forces, S21 and S11. Now what is S21? 2 is denotes to the moment or the rotation. So S21 is always the second moment, and because of the unit allowed displacement, vertical deflection, and S11 is a vertical force. It's the first is saying that deflection, and second subscript saying where I am allowing unit displacement. The last diagram says now we have already taken care of vertical unit displacement to generate the stiffness coefficient. Now we will apply the unit rotation. So you can check the diagram here how I have shown D2 is equal to 1. D2 is your rotation is equal to 1. We'll generate another stiffness coefficients. Name it S12 and S22. Now S12, in that first subscript says that it is the vertical force. Please understand, one says vertical force. Here one signifies vertical deflection. Here one F11, F12. Here one signifies S11, S12 signifies it is a vertical force. And 2 signifies where I have applied unit displacement or rotation. Which quantity? So second quantity is related with rotation, so S12. And this is the moment, S22 is caused, it is the rotation because of the unit rotation applied at second quantity, which is, I am naming it A2 is equal to moments.
मैम एक डाउट था।
हाँ
मैम मैं वर्चुअल सपोर्ट सम सिर्फ स्टिफनेस के केस पे अप्लाई करते हैं, वर्चुअल सपोर्ट थोड़ा डालें।
सी वर्चुअल सपोर्ट हमें इसीलिए अप्लाई करना है क्योंकि हमें you can check here the diagram. See what is the stiffness. See here in flexibility coefficient there was no need to introduce anything artificially or anything. Why? Because this is already deflected shapes that we are having in front of us, and flexibility is nothing but related to deformations, rotation and deflection. So deflection anyway is happening because of the forces when you are applying unit force. But when you generate stiffness coefficients, it is because of हम deliberately उसको displace कर रहे हैं. We are allowing displaced by ourselves, which is not there in the originally. We artificially introducing the displacement. वो तभी होगा जब force, कोई ना कोई force तो होगा ना. So that force needs to be generated, which will, it is just go by definition. Like if the flexibility is the displacement because of unit force. Just like that, stiffness is the force because of the unit displacement. So जहाँ पे मैंने unit displacement डाला है, वहाँ पे मुझे एक force दिखाना है, and that force is called stiffness. To generate stiffness, I have to show the force here because it is the external force. I'm naming it in the form of external force. So यहाँ पे external force कोई है ही नहीं. You check the second diagram. There is no external force. But I want to deliberately generate the stiffness. That is a force. So I have introduced the support here. Same thing here also you can see. This second diagram shows here there is no reactive moment. You can see here. It's a roller support. There is no reactive moment. But if I introduce rotation, you know, there will be reactive. Without that, how can I introduce the rotation? Here in the last, the last diagram. Without the rotation, how can I introduce the rotation? So I have to introduce a reactive moment here, something like this, S33. And here also why reactive moment? Because यहाँ पे मैंने unit load डाला है, यहाँ पे मुझे force introduce करना था, यहाँ पे मुझे moment भी generate करना था. And that reactive moment is not generated here at the last support. This is a roller support. So is there any reactive moment here? Is there any force I can say? Only vertical force, but is there any corresponding reactive force?
No, ma'am, got it. समझ आ गया.
पता
मतलब
चला?
जो हम वर्चुअल सपोर्ट डाल रहे हैं उसके जो रिएक्शंस है वो फोर्स की तरह एक्ट कर रहे हैं बेसिकली.
Yes, those are the reactions and it will have to act as a force. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So these example you have understood? Both the example? Have you understood or any doubt in this?
Ma'am, in the last figure, how do we conclude that the deflection would be upwards? Like, is S12 not actually reacting correctly, or like S22 is considered more? Like the force produced by moment produced by S22 is more than S12. So the deflection is upwards.
No, nothing like that. No. It is a moment is always about clockwise and anti-clockwise. You know, more and less is something, numerical value will always be different. Not more or not less. Both the force is force and moment is moment. So we can relate both. It may be larger or it may be lesser. Okay. What you are asking is about sign convention. We will follow the proper sign convention. We will assume, okay, here are shown clockwise moment as, you know, positive or something like that. So that's why the diagram is shown like. But when you really calculate this, it may be anti-clockwise. If the negative value is there, it is in reality, it is anti-clockwise. Similarly, I have shown the downward force. Here also downward force, S11 and S12. If the magnitude is opposite, the negative, then it should be vertical in that case. But here, when you are, what you are asking is if S21 is greater than S11, it may be or it may not be. We don't know. Unless we calculate the quantities, we can't know whether it is greater or lesser than that. But follow the sign convention, and depending on the magnitude you calculate, based on that you can show the sign. See, force is always downward or upward, but it cannot be, that sign convention cannot be related with clockwise and anti-clockwise. So both are independent, they are not connected together. Are you getting it?
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, yes.
Okay. So let us go to now the next example, which is a truss. Now, kinematic degrees of indeterminacy of the truss I have not discussed last time. As I told you, Jagat sir will also cover that. And as and when it is being used, I will be discussing. So in trusses, kinematic degrees of indeterminacy is being defined, as you know, that joints of the trusses actually cannot have rotations because it's a pin support. So it will always have some rotations. I mean, it will move, but it cannot resist. So there is no point in calculating the rotations, bringing the terms moments in the trusses. Trusses are only the axially loaded members. So there is always each of the joint of the trusses. We can't consider any rotation, or we can't consider any moment or reactive moment that can occur at the joint. It is spin, so moment is zero, that we assume. At every joint moment is zero, and that's why we are applying the summation of all moments zero. That equation is applicable for two-dimensional trusses. And we have also additional equation, which is summation of all forces zero, sigma fx zero and sigma fy zero. That will give, see, sigma mz0 helps us in determining only the reaction and nothing else. Probably you have analyzed the trusses, you know how to find reactions, and we have used only the moment equilibrium equation only for determining the unknown reactive forces, because that is the additional equations. Moment in z direction is always zero in the truss, and we have not, everywhere else we have not used it. At joint we have used only sigma fx0 and sigma fy0. Each of the joint of the trusses, we don't apply moment equilibrium, we apply only the force equilibrium, that each and every joint should be having sigma fx0 and each and every joint should be having sigma fy0. Simple. So two equilibrium equation that we have. So looking to the kinematic degrees of indeterminacy, again we go by definition that those are the number of unknown joint displacements or rotations. Now rotations, there is no question of rotation here in the truss. So it is only the number of unknown displacement at each and every joint. So to start calculating, suppose this is there are a simple truss which is 3 bars and 3 joints. So this joint, first joint, is having hinge support. If it is having hinge support, can it displace or can it translate? Can someone answer?
No, madam.
It will not deflect, it will not run. So at that joint, the kinematic degree of indeterminacy is zero at that joint. Now we come to the next joint. It is a roller support. So there is always a two possibility. One is, can it translate horizontally or can it translate vertically? So in this case, vertical sort of horizontal roller is shown. So in which direction it will translate? The truss will move, that joint will move. Can someone answer?
Vertical.
Yes, so vertical, there will be vertical deflections here. One vertical deflection, but there is no horizontal. So one kinematic degree at this joint, we have to keep it aside. Now the last joint, there are forces applied at the joint, A1 and A2. So it will translate horizontally, vertically both, right? This joint will translate horizontally, vertically both, right? You have calculated deflection in trusses also, using energy methods and all. So here also we are going to find out deflections, but with using stiffness method and all, using different approach. But the beginning of this method, beginning step is how to determine the kinematic degree of indeterminacy. So we have seen that here I know that there is no kinematic degree displacement, horizontal, vertical, zero. Here it will move only vertical and horizontal is zero. So one kinematic variable here at this joint. And second, at this joint, there will be vertical deflection, there will be horizontal deflection, because there is a load and there is no support. So if there is no support, each of the member of the truss will either translate horizontal or vertical. Are you getting? So how many kinematic degrees of indeterminacy?
2.
No.
Total 3.
Total 3, yes. Because here there will be 3. Sorry, here it will be 2. Here it will be 1. Now suppose I am adding one more member. 2 more members, and this is the joint. And it is not being supported. Then how many kinematic degrees of indeterminacy?
5.
मैम तो 5 हो जाएगा.
Huh. So 2 plus 1. So total 5. Now suppose there is a roller support here, something like this, vertical roller. Then what will happen? How many kinematic?
4.
4. Then there will be 4. Yes. So there will be 4 kinematic degrees in that case. So truss is very easy to, I mean, of course, when Jagat sir will take your tutorial, he will give you some formula and, you know, the bigger truss and larger truss, and he will show you the how to calculate kinematic and static degrees of indeterminacy using formulas. But my approach is something, when you look at the truss, you should be able to, when you look at the beam also, you should be able to say instantly by intuitively that, okay, these are the displacement, this is the kinematic degrees. At that time, you can write a formula and calculate and, you know, but there is systematic way of doing that also. So I'm discussing because we want, you know, quickly we want to move ahead, and this approach is reasonably good. By just by looking at the trusses, you should be able to say, okay, kitne displacement hai, how many translation and you know, vertical translation, horizontal translation in the trusses, depending on the support conditions and the joints, it should happen. Okay, now we want to generate again the same concept, the flexibility and the stiffness coefficients. So what will happen? We allow, let's say we want to generate the flexibility coefficient. So what we do, one by one, we apply unit load to generate the flexibility coefficient. So corresponding, again, I am emphasizing word corresponding displacements and corresponding forces. So let's not bother about other places. See, I can still find the displacement here, which is one unknown kinematic variables, but I am focusing here where I have applied the, I can, in fact, I can have one more additional flexibility coefficient here, because this support will also move here. But in this example, okay, I have not included, but ideally, conceptually, if I may include, it is up to me. So how many kinematic variables are to be included in the example, that is also my choice. Suppose मुझे एक ही point पे displacement ढूंढना है, then I can choose this joint. There is another joint also where I want to calculate the displacement. I can still go on including the kinematic variables and go on calculating the stiffness coefficients accordingly, just like we have seen in previous examples. In this example, we have already defined D1, D2, D3. That doesn't mean that यहाँ पे rotation नहीं होगा. There are additional D4 I can introduce here. That is